Hi all, today I want to do a video talking about some coping strategies for what has personally for me been some of the absolute worst kinds of anxiety I've experienced, and that is nocturnal panic attacks. And by nocturnal panic attacks, I don't just mean panic attacks that happen at night, I mean panic attacks that start while you're asleep and wake you up out of sleep in the middle of the panic attack. Now, with the way they work for me at least, the reason they've been so severe is because during the day when I'm awake, if I feel a panic attack starting to come on, I kind of know what's happening. I can be a little braced for it. I can start doing some coping exercises if I need to try to keep it from progressing to like a really severe level, or to at least brace myself so I know what's happening. But the problem with this is that panic attack will be actively happening while I'm asleep. I'll be sleeping through it, and instead of getting better, the attack will just keep progressing and getting more and more severe. And then when the symptoms are bad enough, I'll wake up from those symptoms, and because I'm coming out of a dead sleep, I'm completely out of it, so I don't understand what's happening. Sometimes I can't even quite process what I'm feeling. I just know I wake up in absolute sheer terror with a ton of intensely severe physical symptoms happening to me, and it's very hard to put those two things together and be like, oh, this is safe. It literally just feels like I'm waking up dying. It's the worst. Mine actually started out fairly mild, where I would just have a couple of symptoms and they would be bizarre and fairly severe, but they'd be pretty quick passing. I just assumed I was sick. I thought I had food poisoning or something. But then it progressed and got worse and worse until the worst panic attack I've probably had in my life, that I'm not going to go super into detail here because it will end up taking up the whole video. But if you're interested, I could definitely do a video on this panic attack because it was enough to cover a whole video. It was really, really traumatic. It was honestly a traumatic experience. I pretty much almost developed a phobia of sleeping after this one because it got so bad, but I had to work a lot with my therapist to kind of come up with some new coping strategies to deal with it because they're just unbearable. So the hard thing is too, once my anxiety got to this point that it happened to me where I had a really severe attack in the middle of the night, it started happening more and more regularly. It would usually happen like once every couple of weeks or like a few times a month. But eventually, when I hit a really, really, really bad anxiety and depression phase, I was having attacks like these 3 to 5 times a week. So I was basically not getting more than a night or two of solid sleep in a week. And I would just be going through these incredibly physically draining and exhausting and kind of traumatizing experiences most nights. It got to the point that I would be terrified to go to sleep. And I would just be so exhausted throughout my days that I could barely focus or think about anything, but it's not like sleep would help. So it was really unsettling. So it was definitely something I had to work on really, really hard. So these are some of the coping strategies that I worked on with my therapist that have helped me a lot. I've really lessened it. I generally only have panic attacks in the middle of the night now. I have some mild ones, I'd say probably once every few months, maybe a severe one once every like 3 to 4 months, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't think I've had it. I've had one very severe one, I think in the past 6 or 7 months, which still is, more than I like, but I tend to handle them better when they happen now. And it's so much less than it was. So I'm taking that as a victory. And again, definitely want to state, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. If this stuff is happening to you, definitely talk to your doctor, talk to your therapist, talk to whoever you can about this, because it is a very personal kind of disorder. It may be different with you than with me. I'm just sharing what's personally helped with me in case it might help you. The first thing I've noticed that has helped is just trying very hard to sleep better. I naturally am a night owl. I do have a lot of insomnia on top of that from my depression. My depression is the kind that keeps you from sleeping and makes you want to stay in bed. I just can't sleep, which is super frustrating. But I've noticed that the less quality sleep I'm getting, the more prone I am to this. Like the more exhausted my body gets without replenishing what I need, the worse I do in the night when I try to sleep. The thing that's worked for me, and I did another video on that that I'll link to in the description below, is I kept trying to do what everyone suggested and just go to bed earlier all the time, and that didn't work. I would just get more and more anxious. I was just lying in bed feeling trapped when I wasn't tired, thinking about, oh God, what if I wake up with a panic attack again? And it was just not helping. I wasn't doing anything except lying in bed panicking and then still getting the same amount of, no sleep. But what's worked for me is just forcing myself out of bed early instead. Like if I'm noticing I'm having these kinds of panic attacks, I'll try to go back to forcing myself to get up at like 6:30 in the morning or so, even if I just lay in bed and read instead of actually getting up and getting active, just not letting myself go back to sleep. And I tend to feel awful for a couple of days because I'm just so out of it and tired, because it takes me a long time to adjust to actually sleeping better. But after 2 or 3 days, normally I'm so tired that I do actually naturally want to start falling asleep at an earlier time. and then I end up going right into a deep sleep and sleeping much better, more solidly throughout the night. It usually takes about a week for me to really settle into this and start noticing a lot of relief from it, but that has been the main thing that has really helped me. And if I start having these attacks again, I can normally pinpoint it and be like, oh yeah, my sleep's been getting off, I've been staying up really late, I've been getting up at erratic hours, I've not been following a schedule. It makes it so much worse for me. So if this is happening to you, I definitely recommend giving this a try and seeing if it helps out. Something else that's helped with me, that's particularly helped with the phobia aspects, because I will get so terrified before bed. Sometimes it's been happening regularly because I just cannot stop thinking about the fear of what if this happens, and I get wound up, which then makes me not tired, makes it harder to sleep, which kind of makes the whole cycle more difficult. But it is Arizona Stress RX iced tea. And my anxiety is severe enough that normally things that are like these herbal supplements which would help with your anxiety do not normally help for me very much. It'll help in a very mild way. I've had this tea before whenever I'm actually having a panic attack, and it's not enough to stop a panic attack, but it's normally enough to kind of just like round it out and smooth it a little bit so it's not as severe of an attack. But I have found that if I have like, especially like a 16-ounce serving right before bed, like half an hour before bed, if I just sip on that, I start calming down so much. It makes me want to go to bed. It kind of makes me feel like, you know that feeling when you wake up really early in the morning and your bed's like the perfect temperature and it's nice and crisp outside and you don't have anywhere you have to be and you can just like stay in bed and cuddle and fall back asleep if you want. It makes me start feeling like that. It makes me feel just so safe and cozy and relaxed and calm. And I love it so much. I have a really hard time finding it in stores. They do sell it on Amazon, but it's like wicked expensive on Amazon. The only store I found it in my local area has been ShopRite. Everywhere else has stopped carrying it, which drives me crazy. But if you can find it in your area, if you want to give it a try on Amazon, it's definitely worth it because it's one of the few things that's ever like relaxed me and made me feel like wanting to go to bed when I get this scared. Another thing that helps me a lot is I did a video on my panic supply bag, and I'll link to that below too. And I keep that as well as a couple other very specific items in a bag right next to my bed. Mine is super beat up by now because I bought it for like $5 somewhere, and I've been very rough on it. And I can do another one sometime, another video showcasing everything I have inside this. But this is my bag, all beat up and ruined. And this section goes underneath your mattress, so it just hangs off the side of your bed. I'm realizing now I definitely need to just like cave and spend $15 getting myself a better one because I really love this thing. But what I do is inside that bag, I keep a bunch of stuff that I can have right on hand if I wake up with a panic attack. So I keep my panic attack bag that I carry with me in my purse when I leave the house in case of a panic attack. I put that inside there so it's right there. I have more decks of cards because those are the best way for me to calm down from one of these panic attacks. They're very physical, they're very tactile. I'll just sort the cards or learn magic tricks. I can play like War with one of my friends or play solitaire. Really helps me so much. I keep a couple sensory toys, like some squishy like Play-Doh type stuff to play with. I keep an eye mask there in case lights are bothering me. I have headphones there in case I want music. I have a book light in case I want to start reading. I usually keep my Kindle and my DS right by that, or my Switch so I can play video games if I need to right away. I have some pens in case I want to like write or doodle a little bit, if that might help. I have a little portable fan, a bunch of little things, like anything that I think I might need if I wake up with a panic attack, I just keep right there. So if I'm freaking out and I can't think about what I need to do to cope, or I can't get out of bed because I'm too dizzy or weak, I can literally just kind of roll over and grab this and have whatever I need right there. My next tip that has really helped me is I have realized this gets much worse for me if I'm too hot. And even if I'm not too hot, it can be very cold, and I may feel like I'm burning up, even my body temp is dropping, which is so annoying. And with me personally, I do have sensory issues, and heat's a big trigger for me, but I found this is true for a lot of other people with anxiety as well. So if it definitely sets you off, or if you feel really hot when you have a panic attack, I have done much better if I sleep with a standing fan near my bed. And I have one that's a remote controlled fan, so I can just turn it on without getting out of the bed. And if I think I'm very prone to a panic attack in the night, I may just fall asleep with the fan on, and sometimes that's been enough to like prevent a panic attack from happening. But if I wake up with a panic attack and I am burning hot, something that really helps is to just turn on the fan, get on a nice high setting, and that shock of cold moving air on me helps me so much. I've actually read before that like a cold shock can pretty much start to stop the fight or flight response. And for me, that's been really true. It's helped me so much. It's very grounding. And part of it too is that I sometimes can't feel the cold when I'm having a panic attack. I'm not aware of that sensation. So When I wake up with these, I definitely tend to go in the whole, this is forever, this is my life, this is never gonna stop mindset. And I can start to realize as I start feeling a little bit cold, if I see goosebumps appear on my skin, or if I start wanting to get under a blanket or putting my sweatshirt back on or something, that I'll know I'm coming down, and that will start reassuring me that like this was a panic attack and this isn't gonna last forever. So it also helps in that way too. Related to that, I also like to sleep in very like airy, light-fitting clothing, or clothing that's really easy to layer. Like a lot of times I'll keep like fuzzy socks and a sweatshirt by my bed in case I wake up cold and I wanna like go to the bathroom, or just getting up in the morning if I wanna throw something on, or if I end up getting very cold in the middle of the night, I have them available. But usually I sleep in like very not like form-fitting, or if they are form-fitting, they have to be a very, very, very breathable fabric. But I usually sleep in like looser t-shirts or a loose tank top and like very breathable like cotton shorts or something like that. That tends to be the best thing for me to sleep in. If I sleep in something that's very constrictive, or that kind of traps sweat, or that causes me to sweat or something like that, it makes it way worse. I also don't do great sleeping in rompers, because like when I have a panic attack, if I have to like feel like I like have to get topless or something to go to the bathroom, it makes me feel much more vulnerable and exposed or something, so that makes me feel a little worse too. And sometimes I can handle it, sometimes I'm like chill and relaxed enough that I'm not that scared of it, but a lot of times I'm wearing something that I know it's not helpful if I'm having a panic attack to be wearing that. That'll make me so afraid of having a panic attack while I'm wearing this that it makes me not sleep well. So I kind of like err on the side usually of sleeping in very comfortable, airy clothing. Another thing that has helped me a lot is I read on Calm Clinic before, and I love that site. I go to that site a lot to kind of just read about different symptoms that can happen, and it reassures me that they are just panic symptoms and it's not, you know, I don't have 30,000 diseases at once, because that's what it feels like sometimes. But on Calm Clinic, they mentioned that most panic attacks reach their peak after 15 minutes and then start fading, or you start feeling normal again another 15 minutes after that. And this has not been true for me for all my panic attacks. I've definitely had some that like the severe intense part will last for, you know, an hour and a half, 3 or 4 hours. I may be panicking off and on in waves for, you know, multiple hours. But the majority of my panic attacks, especially if I don't get re-triggered and if I am doing things to try to take care of myself during it, they do tend to follow this timeline. And again, because I'll wake up so disoriented and I'll just be completely out of it, convinced that it's happening forever, that this is the rest of my life, that a lot of times what I'll do is I'll set a timer either on my iPhone, or I'll have like sometimes my, I don't think I can say her name, I'm gonna wake her up, but my Alexa? What do you know? She knew not to respond this time. But sometimes I'll set a timer on her or something too, so I don't have to think about it and go looking for it. And that will make it much easier, because instead of being like, you have to get through this forever, or how long is this gonna last? I'm like, just get through those 15 minutes, and you only have to find a way to cope for 15 minutes. And I tend to notice that it usually does reach its worst peak there. Like I'll usually be feeling not great. And then I'm like, okay, 15 minutes now, you'll probably start feeling better. And I'll just keep coping until that hits, and I'll start noticing, if I start noticing feeling better within that second 15-minute phase, just like the fan actually helping and noticing the cold, I'll start calming down and be like, okay, this is a panic attack, it is following those symptoms. A lot of times it's something like I feel like I have to go to the bathroom or something like that, I'll be like, you can't do it until the first 15 minutes has passed, because if I try to go to the bathroom, my body will force something to happen. I'll be like, aha, see, I was sick. But if I wait those 15 minutes, a lot of times the urge will just completely disappear. So I'll usually try to do that. It tends to help me a lot. It makes it a lot more focused. It makes it a much smaller problem I'm dealing with, it feels like. And I try not to put pressure on myself to like, oh, you have to get better, you must be better, or you're not feeling better yet, it's obviously not a panic attack. But just as a rule, it tends to really kind of make the panic attack feel less everlasting and less big, and it kind of forces me to be a little more grounded and mindful in the moment about how long this is going to last. Related to that too, something I found helped is not forcing myself into what I think I should be doing. So like the minute I start feeling a little bit better from the panic attack, sometimes I'll be like, okay, well I can just lay back down and try to go to sleep. And then it'll be like too big of a shift, because normally when I panic like this, sometimes I'll have to get out of the bed, I'll have to go leave the room for a few minutes to be somewhere completely different. Like a lot of times I'll go sit downstairs in the living room, sit on the cold tile floor we have down there, and that'll help. But at minimum, normally I just have to sit up in bed. Like I can't lay down when I'm feeling this way. And what helps me is to not force myself back in a laying down position before I'm ready. So I'll normally move in very deliberate stages. Like if I start feeling better while I'm sitting up, and I think I'm coping fine, I might practice just kind of leaning back further onto my pillows, like making my pillows more slanted or something and leaning back on that. And that normally will re-trigger me and I'll start panicking a little bit again. So I'll wait until that calms down and I'll just keep kind of slowly progressing. Like eventually I may be like laying down, but still like, you know, on my back and on my phone. And then I may move to my side and get in the position I normally sleep in, but still be on my phone or something to calm myself down. I just move very, very slowly and kind of ease into each transition from where I'm at to where I want to be going back to sleep without trying to jump any steps. Because if I jump those steps, that like, it's like almost too big of a shock to my system. It's just too drastic of a change. Like my body and brain just can't process changes at that point. So I have to go very gradual, just little baby steps. And it may feel super annoying, but honestly, it's so much better than having the panic attack be completely blown back up again, because that has happened. I'll think I'm doing okay and I'll lay down and just immediately be like sobbing and about to throw up and scratching myself and sweating again. And I'm like, okay, this was too much. And like I said, it'll start to trigger every time I move, but it's normally like, I'll pretty much wait until I start to feel uncomfortable and just hold it until I don't feel uncomfortable anymore and then keep moving. The next thing I'll do is sometimes I'll leave my Kindle or my phone browser open to different articles that I want to read or things that I think may calm me down or distract me, or I'll leave open apps that I think might help me if I have a panic attack. That way, if I wake up with a panic attack, I don't have to worry about trying to find something to distract myself or think about what might help. Like I'll usually just have it right there available. So all I have to do is look at my open tabs or look at my open apps to help. One app I highly recommend for severe panic attacks any time of the day, but it's so great. And I found it's been really good for me when I'm like alone with a panic attack, because it really feels like external guidance, is the Calm Harm app. And I'll link to that in the description below. I love this app. It's actually designed to prevent a self-harm urge, or to help you get through a self-harm urge. And what's great about it is you can time it, you can let it know how long of a distraction you think you need, and then it breaks down all these coping techniques based on what they are, like whether or not it's some kind of like a release, if it's some kind of a distraction, if it's something like, it has like all these different types of coping things. You can try out something based on what you think you're needing right then. And then each coping strategy within that, each technique has like a timer with it. So it'll give you like 5 minutes with the technique, and then I'll ask you, are you feeling better? Do you want to keep going? Do you want to try something else? It is so great. And some of the techniques, like I usually use the distracting ones, and they're fantastic because it'll be stuff like, you know, look for every right angle in the room. Or I'm trying to remember some off the top of my head because like I'm recording on my phone, so I can't look at my app right now. It'll be things like, you know, how many words can you make out of the words in this sentence? Like stuff like that. Or think about, you know, come up with a good memory for every letter of the alphabet, or a song for every letter of the alphabet or something. And that has helped me so much through some really major panic attacks. And I do tend to self-harm when I'm having a bad panic attack, so it's kind of like a similar mindset for me. I am just in love with this app. I brought up this app to my therapist, and my therapist loves this app too. So I'm like just preaching this to everybody. This is definitely not a sponsored video or anything. I've just completely fallen in love with this app, and it's helped me a lot. So I definitely recommend that. I think it's a good idea to have that open and ready to go. You do have to put in a passcode whenever you try to go into this app. So definitely try to make it like a really simple one if you can. Something you can do easily, and it doesn't take like a whole lot of manual dexterity to fill in. That's something I would definitely recommend. Or even, you know, leave a post-it note or something next to it letting you know how to get back into your app if you have a hard time remembering, because I know me, sometimes when I panic, everything just goes right out of my brain. Another good thing, if you can, is to try to have a couple of friends that you know that you can get in touch with if you're having a bad panic attack. I have my partner, my roommate that I live with, and they're both thankfully really kind about this. Like, I know if it's bad enough, I can definitely wake either one of them up. I usually do my partner first, because half the time they'll wake up because they'll hear me moving or crying in bed anyway. And I always feel so guilty when I do this, and everyone that I love who has said it's okay really stresses the fact that, you know, this is a medical thing, it's fine, I need help. I try to deal with it on my own as much as I can, but sometimes they're just way past my coping abilities, honestly. And if you have a hard time with that too, so my therapist has told me to really focus on the fact that if somebody offers something or says yes to doing something, as long as you're not like manipulating them or using emotional blackmail or something, like you really need to trust that they actually mean they're okay with that, and that they're offering because they really do mean they're okay with it. I've had a lot of instances in my life of people like lying and taking it back, and I'm having to try to learn that like not everyone's that kind of person. So if you have a hard time, it's good to try to trust that. I know it's difficult too. And I have a couple other friends, like some of my friends are like big insomniacs or work kind of all over the place schedules. So they're like, I'm probably awake, call me. I'm probably up just watching Netflix, like give me a call, text me, like we'll FaceTime, we'll do something, I'll come over. So if you do have those people in your life, it's great to try to work that out. If you don't, like you might be able to find some people on like anxiety groups on Facebook or on Reddit or different places like that. Like you can meet people from all over the world. You may literally be talking to somebody at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday where they're like, yeah, this is fine, I'll call you right now, I'll Skype you right now, let's chat, let's play a game together, like something. So, you know, it's definitely worth it if you can build a network of people that are available. It's really, really, really nice having that. Another thing I've learned is a lot of times my nocturnal attacks are just kind of an overall sign that I'm not doing a great job of my self-care. So like, I won't do this during the panic attack, but like once I've calmed down and the next morning, I'll start thinking about, okay, obviously I'm at some like really peak anxiety levels because my body's freaking out even while I'm asleep. So what have I been neglecting? And it'll make me start realizing, okay, am I overworking myself? Am I not sleeping enough? Am I not eating or drinking enough? Am I not doing enough things that are like for me to try to replenish? Because I'm really bad about like working all day long, working into the night, everything I do, doing like because, oh, someone else wants to go see this movie, or this friend needs help with something, or I need to hang out with this person because they need something done or they want companionship for something. I'm not thinking about like, what do I need or what do I want to be doing, or even like just doing something fun, which I tend to like think it's not a big deal and it doesn't really matter that much. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up thinking I'm dying in the middle of the night. So I'm like, oh, maybe my therapist is right and I should be doing this more often. So a lot of times I find that it can be just like a warning for my body that like, hey, you need to kind of reevaluate and think about how you're taking care of yourself. So a lot of times I'll use part of the next day to kind of reevaluate and be like, okay, what do I need to work on? What have I been neglecting? How do I need to take care of myself? So it might be a good idea to kind of like reflect and think of anything else is going on in your life right now that you might be kind of like neglecting in your self-care, or that you need to come up with a new way to cope or work around. Like definitely kind of self-examine and figure out what's going on. Another thing I find helps is keeping stuff nearby that I find really comforting and that reminds me of people that care about me. For instance, this is Panda. This is my best friend. I have slept with him every night since I was 5 years old. At Christmas, I got him Christmas in my stocking and I just fell immediately in love. And I've slept with him every night since then. And so he'll be really comforting. Sometimes I'm scared or waking up with a panic attack, I'll just immediately start hugging him and holding him and remember that like a way to kind of nurture myself right away, which is super comforting. And he helps me fall asleep too. I pretty much can't sleep without my buddy. So that's the way that is. And I also keep like other stuffed animals nearby or at the foot of my bed. Like this one, this little cute Winnie the Pooh, was gifted to me by one of my friends who has panic attacks, and she has nighttime panic attacks sometimes too. So she gave me this so that like when I wake up with a panic attack, I can remember that I'm not the only one going through it, that somebody else loves me, someone exists who has felt the same things and been just as scared, so that I don't feel really alone or really broken in the middle of the night, and that helps me so much. So if you can, I think it's a good idea to keep like little things by you, whether or not it's a photograph of people you really care about by the bed, or post-it notes you write to yourself. I did that. I've hung up post-it notes that some people have given me really sweet compliments and reminders that they think I'm strong for living with this kind of thing, and also some reminders of like breathing exercises I might forget, or just that, you know, it's not going to last forever, it's not going to kill me. So that helps. Anything like that that might make you feel happy or safe or be any kind of like a comforting, grounding, centering object, I think it's good to keep that by your bed. Something else that also helps me a lot, if I wake up in the middle of the night and it's pitch black, I completely freak out because I'm like, I can't see, I don't know how to get to anywhere safe, I don't know how to comfort myself, like it's too much. And then turning on a really bright light's really jarring and unsettling, and I'm also afraid of unsettling my partner. So what I do is I like to sleep with some kind of very gentle, warm, soft lighting that's not too harsh, but it's enough that if I wake up, I'll be able to see, but without feeling like I'm being blinded by like a lamp being turned on. My favorite ones is on my windowsill. That's like, I sleep right by the window, and on my windowsill I have a bunch of like Funko Pops and things that are really important to me, and I just woven a little copper light with some warm white lights in that, and they're just like battery powered, so just switch them on. So it's like having little like fairy lights. That's very comforting to me. And then on my vanity next to my bed, I have these guys, and they are fake candles that are just battery powered, and you can't really see the light at all with my light I have going, but they're very, very gentle, soft light. It is a lot like sleeping with a candle on without like you know, burning down the house. And you can also change the color, sometimes to make them green, so I feel like I'm in the Slytherin dorm room because I'm really cool. And so those are fantastic, and they're like just enough that if I wake up I can probably do my playing cards by them. I might be able to read with them with a book light. I'll be able to like go through my panty bag and see everything, and it just makes me feel much less like sensory overwhelmed. And my final tip, and this isn't so much getting through the panic attack, but it's kind of getting yourself in a place to hopefully not have another one right away and to recover, is to recognize that these really suck. They honestly do take a very physical toll on your body, and you need to take care of yourself afterwards. I know it's not always an option. I've definitely had to like go into work or do major deadlines the next day or something, so you can't always call out of work. I know if you can call out of work, if you have paid time off or anything like that, if you can, try to like the next day, try to like make it an easy, gentle day. Don't stress yourself out. You know, try to sleep in, recover whatever you can. Basically treat it as if you're physically sick. Like I said, if you can take a sick day, I think that's really important. If you can't take a sick day, still try to care for yourself. Like don't push yourself too hard. You know, I like to wear really comfortable clothing the next day. Make sure you rehydrate and eat really well. I tend to need a lot of like Gatorade and tea and things like that the next day. Like generally whatever you need to like eat or drink when you're physically sick, that's what you need to do. Like you really need to recover as much as you can. I tend to go very gentle on myself. Like if I can have like comforting podcasts or TV shows on in the background, or listen to music that I love, or like even if you have to go to work, like plan to go home that night. And like a lot of times after I'd have a really bad attack like this, especially when I was living alone, I sleep over at a friend's house the next night, and like we'd watch like Disney movies and get pizza before bed and try to make it a fun thing and be there for each other and just kind of relax. Like it's really important to recognize that, you know, it's not just a panic attack. It's not just in your head. Like it does cause, first off, like the in your head part is terrible. It's really traumatizing. It's very scary. It is absolute hell to wake up and be convinced that you're dying or you're going insane. You completely lose control of your body and your mind. The lack of sleep itself is enough to unsettle you and make you not feel well physically and mentally and emotionally. And then on top of that, you're really putting your body through it. Like you're going through, like imagine like anything that would cause this fight and flight response without it just being like, you know, a misfiring or something in your brain. Like if you literally had someone breaking into your house, or you got in a car wreck, or you got held at gunpoint or something like that, you would understand, okay, my body just went through it, I need to go relax. And I think that a lot of times if we have anxiety, we tend to not realize that that's basically what our body's going through, and that we need that same recovery time as well. So it's really important, I think, to the next day, take as much care of yourself as you can, be really gentle with yourself. Like try not to berate yourself, try to be as nurturing as you possibly can be, because your body really deserves it after going through that. All right, that is about it for now. Like I said, I can do another video going more over my personal experience with nocturnal panic attacks, and I can also show you everything that's in my panic supply nighttime bag, so you see what I have right with me. But I hope some of these tips might have helped you. And like I said, definitely, you know, talk to your therapist, talk to your doctor, figure out what's going on with you personally if you can, and any coping strategies might help you. If you found any coping strategies that have helped, definitely leave them in the comments below, because I'm always looking for more ways to be able to, you know, handle this, and maybe it'll help other people, which I really hope. So, and I thank you for watching, and I'll be back later this week with another video. Until then, take care, be happy, and hopefully sleep well.